Welcome to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? I'm Karen E. Osborne. I hope you know that and you've been following us. And I am the author of Getting It Right, Tangled Lies, which just came out in July, and my new book, which is coming out June 16th, 2022, Reckonings. And I'm so glad that you are with us. I have a special guest. I met her at a writers' conference, and I bought her book right there on the spot. And you're going to enjoy meeting her. So let me introduce you to Mbinguni right now. I'm going to just read my little introduction. She's the author of Looking for Hope, and which is a coming-of-age debut novel about a young girl's transformation from a shy, quiet girl into a strong, assertive woman. Now, that sounds good, doesn't it? Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad. So we met each other in May, was it? When were we in Atlanta? I think it was May. Early May, yes. And I was so taken and thought, oh, you would just be a wonderful guest on our vlog. So
I'm excited.
So the first thing, if this is not a good question, you just tell me, but I wanted to understand the genesis of your name. It's so beautiful. And so what does it mean? How did it come about? Were you born with it?
No, I was not. It is my pseudonym. So there was a need for me to be able to hide in plain sight because my aunt and I planned this book as a surprise for a book club. And so Mbinguni is actually the Swahili translation of my real name, which is celestial. And if you know what celestial means, it's heavenly or heavenly body. And that is Mbinguni is the Swahili translation of that. And that allowed me to hide in plain sight with this group of women who read the book. I was there for their discussion. They had no clue I had written the book until the very end of the event. And so it was a wonderful reveal. Thank you. Everybody loved the book and had nothing but wonderful things to say. But it allowed me to get their honest opinions and thoughts. And it was a wonderful experience.
Wow. And so that was very brave.
That's what a lot of people say. That's what a lot of people say. But I knew that, I think I knew that it would be okay after there were certain other people who had kind of read the book. And I felt confident that even if they didn't necessarily like it, it wouldn't be my writing that they were necessarily not impressed by or didn't like. It would be more so the story, because the content there are parts of it that can be difficult and may be a trigger for people. But overall, I was very excited and just over the moon with the praise that I received.
You know, isn't that a wonderful feeling when you hear people talking about your characters like living, breathing people, you know, and having, well, you know, but she said, and then this should have happened. And it's like the most wonderful, amazing feeling that people so love your characters that they see them breathing and walking around and alive. And that's exactly what you've written. So hats off to you. So one of the things that we like to start our conversations with is to recommend books that you're reading to the audience before we dive into your writing journey. Do you have any books recently that just really grabbed you?
Well, one is from Suzette D. Harrison, The Girl at the Back of the Bus, I believe is the title of the book. She's historical fiction, somewhat like what I did in my book, Looking for Hope. And she was one of my mentors. And so it's a really good book. It's currently out and doing well. So that would be my recommendation.
Excellent, excellent. Do you have another one?
Let me think, what did I read before that one? I think the last book I read before that was Nikesha, Elise Williams, Beyond Bourbon Street. That would be another good book to read.
Yeah, what was that about?
Oh, that one was about this woman and her husband who are in New Orleans after Katrina, and their process in trying to recover, and they've got some marital issues going on. So it was a good story.
Excellent. Great. So tell us a little bit about you as a young reader. You know, what did you read when you were a kid? What kinds of books, and how did that play out as you, the writer?
So I was an avid reader as a child. My grandmother was an educator, but by the time I came along, she kind of transitioned into, she ran like the cafeterias for the elementary and middle schools in the town that I grew up in. But, you know, she was really into education. That was very important in our household. And so I was an avid reader. So by the time I hit middle school, I was reading Toni Morrison. And that The Bluest Eye was the first book that really kind of got me. I was like, whoa, like you can do this with words. And so that book made me fall in love with the written word. And I've always, as far as I can remember, written poetry and short stories and that kind of thing. And so it just kind of evolved. I continued writing poetry and stories, and I had teachers along the way, English teachers, who would pour into me and say, you've got a skill here, you know, do this or do that or write this. And so it just continued. I ended up writing music. I had 2 albums I put out. And so finally I started high school. I wrote a short, not a short story, but like a story that I would write a chapter and everybody would pass it around. And it was the next installment type thing. So finally, I started writing as an adult, but I would start and stop and start and stop. And so I didn't really get serious about it until about 3 years before Looking for Hope was published.
So just go back for a second. And so then I wrote music, and I had an album come out. Just rewind there for a second and tell us a little bit about that.
I had 2 CDs. One was kind of like a gospel neo soul, and the other was more like jazz R&B-ish. Actually, you can see one on the wall behind me. The other one is on the other side. Yeah. I don't even remember. It's been so long. I don't remember what year those came out, but I put them out under my real name. Wow. And music has always been a part of me just as much as reading. My father has a musical background, and so that kind of was passed down to me. And so I still love music, but I decided I was done with the stage. So.
Wow, that is so, you look like you're like 20, so I don't know how you fit all of that into your life, but okay, this sounds very, very.
Well, thank you. I will take it. I just turned 45, but I will take 20 all day, every day.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. So tell us about how your new book came about. What was the impetus for it? Tell us a little bit about the story.
Okay, so Mouse came to me first. That is Hannah Mouse Maynard. She is the main character. When we meet her, she's 7.5 years old. And like I mentioned earlier, the book is historical fiction. When she came to me, she was dressed like a child that would have been dressed in the late 1950s. And so that is where the book begins. It's a tragic tale in the beginning, but then it kind of morphs into something that I hope readers will find to be beautiful and encouraging. She meets these colorful characters along the way during this kind of adventure that she ends up taking as a result of the tragic event that happens. The overall theme that I really want readers to get is that, you know, tragedy doesn't have to define us. We have things that happen that can rock us to our very core. But that doesn't have to dictate who you are and where you are going. So that's the overall theme of Looking for Hope.
Yeah, it's a powerful, powerful theme, because so many of us, you know, had trauma, childhood trauma. It's amazing and sad how many children live through childhood trauma. And you're right, it can't define us. We have to, say, okay, this is the hand I was dealt, but what am I going to do with it? Yeah, and offering your readers hope and seeing an inspirational journey. That's a beautiful thing. Are you working on anything new right now?
I am. I've started the research process for book 2. It's not related to looking for hope, I'm sorry, at all. I'm trying to think how much I can give you. I am a certified scuba diver, so it will have the heroine in this book will be a certified scuba diver. So it'll kind of be, I guess, kind of some of the things that I wish I could live out in my day-to-day life. But I tend to write spunky characters who are a bit different from me totally, because I'm a little more laid back, not really, it takes a lot to kind of pull me out of my normal character. So these characters that I tend to write, like Mouse is spunky and kind of gets into trouble every now and again because of her spunkiness. And this character will be very similar to that, just in adult form. So
an adult form. That, okay, so gospel singer, R&B singer, author, certified scuba diver, and you only just turned 45. I am impressed. If our audience wanted to learn more about you, they want to find you, through social media or on the web, what's the best way for our audience to learn more about you? Buy her book, and just follow you. Where can they find you?
The best place to go is my website, which is www.mbinguni.life. And Mbinguni is spelled Mbinguni. So that's www.mbinguni.life. And from there, you can purchase the book. You can follow all my social media and all that good stuff. So
excellent. And under this video is your link and the correct spelling too. So when our audience lands on the page, whichever one, if you're going to look at it on YouTube or if you're going to look at it on my website, KarenEOsborne.com, you will see the spelling and you'll see the books, the recommended books, and you can find it. This is wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you I love having met you a second time, once in person and once on the video, and I will follow you. And I hope you guys will too. See you next time on What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing?